Lesson 10 for February 27 to March 5, Doing the Unthinkable, and read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Wednesday, March 3, The Unreachable Is Us. Like a vulnerable plant, apparently of no special value and despised, that's the depiction we are given here of the suffering servant. Let's look at this in Isaiah 53, verses 2 and 3. For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form or comeliness, and when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Isaiah has quickly brought us through innocent youth to the brink of the abyss. Even with the background provided earlier, we are not prepared in the sense that we are resigned to the servant's fate. To the contrary, Isaiah has taught us to cherish the child born to us, the supreme Prince of Peace. Others despise him, but we know who he really is. As someone has said, we have met the enemy, and they are us. The servant is not the first to be despised, rejected, or a man of suffering. King David was all of those when he fled from his son Absalom, as we read in 2 Samuel 5:30. So David went up by the ascent of the Mount of Olives, and wept as he went up. And he had his head covered, and went barefoot. And all the people who were with him covered their heads, and went up, weeping as they went up. But the suffering borne by this servant is not his own, and does not result from his own sin, nor does he bear it merely for another individual. As it says in verse 6 of Isaiah 53, the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. The answer to the question, why, is Isaiah's testing truth. Because of God's love, his Messiah would choose to suffer. But why? Isaiah drives the golden spike in to complete the unthinkable truth. He would choose to suffer in order to reach the unreachable, and the unreachable are us. Those who do not understand regard the servant as struck down by God, Isaiah 53 and verse 4. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. Just as Job's friends thought his sin must have caused his suffering, and just as Jesus' disciples asked him in John 9:2, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind, those who saw Jesus on the cross assumed the worst. Didn't Moses say that anyone hung on a tree is under God's curse in Deuteronomy 21:23? Numbers 25 verse 4 reads, Then the Lord said to Moses, Take all the leaders of the people and hang the offenders before the Lord out in the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may turn away from Israel. Yet all this was God's will, as we read in Isaiah 53:10. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Why? Because, as it says in Galatians 3:13, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us. Because God, as it says in 2 Corinthians 5:21, made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Ellen White writes in God's Amazing Grace, page 172, What a price has been paid for us! Behold the cross and the victim uplifted upon it. Look at those hands pierced with the cruel nails. Look at his feet fastened with spikes to the tree. Christ bore our sins in his own body. That suffering, that agony, is the price of your redemption. End of quote. And so to finish the day, the weight, the guilt, the punishment for the sins of the whole world, every sin by every sinner, fell upon Christ at the cross at once, as the only means to save us. What does this tell us about how bad sin is, that such a price had to be paid in order to redeem us from it? What does it tell us about God's love, that he would do this for us, even at such a great cost?
Hi there. Thanks for watching this video on the Advent-band Ministries YouTube channel. Please subscribe and click the bell icon to be alerted whenever we upload new videos. So, until we meet him in the clouds, may God continue to bless you.
This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. It's supported by the Sabbath School Department and Hope Channel Australia, and is rebroadcast by Christian Record Services and through podcasts at It Is Written in the United States, Hope Channel Germany, and through Apple iTunes and SoundCloud. Remember, God is always faithful.